Hey everyone, I'm Paul Riopelle. Thanks for joining me for episode 6. Today, my guest is my longtime pal, longtime band member, plays drums in the Motion, sang in the Riopelle tributes, plays keyboard, and he does sound design. Yeah, it's a good one. Listen, let's get going. Welcome back to the Riopelle Room. Well, hello. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Riopelle Room. This is Paul Riopelle. Today, my very special guest, my pal for many years, bandmate, partner in crime, Ryeland Allison. Hey, Rye.
Hey, man.
You're there.
I'm here.
All right.
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome to the Riopelle Room.
Thank you for having me.
Rye, we're going to go back for a minute, okay? We're going back. Are you ready?
Oh,
Let's go back.
Oh,
Let's go back.
I can feel the mystical vibe.
So, Rye, so how do we know each other? Do you remember how we met? You auditioned for The Motion. Me, Stephen, David, myself, we had our band. 82, was it? What was it? 82? When did you join the band?
82, 83, I think. I was in 10th grade.
Yeah.
I was a new student at Newbridge,
Right.
and Stephen was at Newbridge as well as Marla. Marla, his sister,
Mm-hmm.
and Marla was in my class of 85, and Stephen was class of 84.
Yeah.
And we had a class together, and in that class, he's like, I'm looking for a drummer in my band. Anybody in here play drums? And I said, I'm a drummer, and raised my hand in the class.
Well, that's how it gets done.
I seem to remember it may have been David Wolfson's film class. It may have been a different class because that was a multi-grade class. David being Stephen and Marla's brother, older brother.
Right.
And he was teaching the film class. And so they, like I say, he asked if anybody played an instrument. I said, I play drums. And he said, we're looking for a drummer.
Cool.
And the friendship blossomed from there. But I think when you and I actually met was that first audition, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It was at your house.
It was at my house.
I think they either went with Stephen and David, and then we drove to your house, and then you played the drums, and you were fantastic. And
Thanks.
that was it.
I remember it vividly. I had fortunate enough to have a music room that had, could support amps and drums and mics and the whole bit, and like PA speakers, and it was lovely to have that. So we didn't have to go to some funky place out in the valley.
Oh, by the way, folks, I should say that if you came to the tribute show, well, we had one in LA, and if you came to that one, or the one in Scottsdale, the bigger one, Ryeland performed a Jerry Riopelle song for the tribute. We'll get to that later, and we'll kind of listen to that song. But so you might remember Ryeland from not only The Motion, Paul, Stephen, and David's and Ryeland's band, but also performing the Jerry Riopelle song at Talking Stick in Scottsdale. So Ryeland, okay, obviously we were in a band. Do you recall the first time you met my dad, Jerry? I recall the first time I told him about you, which I could talk to you about if you want, but do you actually recall your first meeting, coming over to the house, or where was it, and how did that happen?
If I remember correctly, and this could be, one of those wonderfully augmented memories that one has.
Yeah.
I came to your place where you were living with Angie and your mom and dad, and it was on Waring, next to Crescent Heights, in that same neighborhood of Stephen.
Yes.
And forgive me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
but I believe seeing your father on the couch, and he had no shirt on, and there was the smell of wonderful, let's just say, incense in the air. And I said,
An herbal
these folks
herbal
are
aroma.
awesome. An herbal aroma was in the room, and your dad was shirtless and tan.
Wow.
And I thought, this cat is cool, man. These people are groovy. I thought my parents were groovy, but these folks are groovy.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, okay. Actually, there's some history that goes
may
way
have been true. It may have been, I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I'm not
But I recall it
surprised by
vividly.
that.
No,
So,
exactly. I mean, it's of the time,
Yeah.
And I just remember your house being really warm and welcoming, and musical. I could just feel the music, like the funky piano, and then your dad had something going in the garage at times with different instruments and MIDI instruments, and that's what really fascinated me. And we can get into that if you want a little bit. That he was just such a great supporter of my interest in the studio side of things. And he really, fostered that in me, which we can talk about in a little bit if you want.
Yeah, that's great. What I was going to say was there was actually a history. Before you and I knew each other, there was some little bit of history between both of our fathers. Not a lot,
from what I've heard. Yeah,
yeah. But I remember, I think I've told you this story before. I found an old phone book of his from the '60s, and some really cool entries in there. And one of them was under K, because he put everyone under their first name, was Keith Allison, who's Ryeland's dad, by the way. And in parentheses, it said Ray Peterson's guitar player. So that year, those would have been, 64?
63, 64.
Yeah.
When my dad first came out to Los Angeles, he was touring with Ray Peterson. Cryin, tell Laura I love her. That's how he would always introduce himself too. Ray Peterson, who's Ray Peterson? Hi, I'm Ray Peterson. Cryin, tell Laura I love her. He would always list his hits. My dad told me that.
That's funny.
So my dad was touring with him and up and down the coast and around the States.
Right.
And that's probably how Jerry knew him, because soon after that he got involved in the session scene.
Well, all that session
LA.
stuff. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and your dad was in that circle as well. Everybody was swimming in that group in LA in that time, because there wasn't as much selection of people doing rock and roll.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the group was really tight-knit, and as we know from Wrecking Crew and these documentaries, it's like the circle of musicians was really ever flowing.
Right. Indeed, and Ryeland's dad, Keith, was not only had his solo thing going on, but he also was a member, Paul Revere and the Raiders for a little bit there. So that's who that is.
Right on.
Real quick, there's a story that your dad has about my dad. He tells this story. It was at the Record Plant or Sunset Sound when he was in the hot tub.
I believe it was the Record Plant. He seems to remember running into Jerry sitting in the hot tub. Again, I'm not sure if it was, skinny dipping in the hot tub, perhaps.
I think that's what he said. Yes. Which brings,
and that was very common in those days too. I guess we'd be talking mid 70s.
Yeah, right. Early 70s, mid. But what's funny is that was my previous conversation with David Plen, is that when they recorded Silver Dollar, the track my dad's song Silver Dollar, and my dad came out to do the vocal and the piano. To quote unquote loosen up the band, he came out wearing only boots, and that is the recording. So, but I've already discussed that with Plan, and we played it, and that was hilarious. Yeah. So I guess apparently
did they have a hot tub? Did they have a hot tub at the Sound City as well?
Well, that wasn't Sound City. That was Silver Dollar was the second record, and that was at the Sunset Sound or Record Plant.
Yeah. Record Plant, I know, had a hot tub.
That's where so apparently
so that must have been where it was.
He liked being naked at that studio.
Fantastic. Didn't everybody back then?
I guess so.
There was a lot of that going.
Yeah. So anyway, right. So we were in a band, and I have to tell you, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but one of our first rehearsals that I recorded the band, The Motion, our band, and I was so excited about this new drummer we had, and I went home, and I've always, of course, shared stuff with my dad, and was like, you got to hear this, you got to hear this, you got to hear this new drummer. And I played the tape, and he loved it. We both just were ecstatic about your playing, and so that was just a great little memory.
Nice.
You mentioned something earlier that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a whole series of thoughts and feelings about Jerry, because as soon as I joined The Motion with you guys, he was, definitely the producer, godfather of the group, right. And so he was very much involved in guiding us, and such an amazing professor from his experience and time in the studio. And, when we did our demo, he lined up the studio and he was on hand to help guide us through the process. And that was one of the first times I had really spent a lot of time in the studio in earnest. And I really loved hearing what he had to offer and how he kept the sessions moving. And then when we had the opportunity to do the theme song for the show Summer, the pilot, for my parents' pilot.
Yes.
And Stephen wrote the theme song, and we got to record the music there. He was also leading those sessions on a more professional level. And it was like the big time, and we were in the big 24-track studio, and we rented equipment and,
what studio was that again?
And
where was that?
I think that was Cherokee.
Cherokee. Okay, right.
Yeah. Well, Cherokee for the theme song, and then it was what is now East West, which was I always forget if it was United or Western or which one it originally was, but it's now East West.
Right.
And it was the Beach Boys room where we did Traveling Band, which was really cool and historic. And so both of those sessions, Jerry was there leading, and I just wanted to pay attention to what he was throwing down in there, because I always loved the studio from being with my dad, but my dad was always playing and occupied with what he was doing, and Jerry seemed to more share and just had a different vibe. So like I've said this before, Jerry definitely was a musical father to me. And then my love of synthesizers and equipment, recording studio equipment, started to grow about that time. This would have been 83, 84.
Right.
And this is one of the memories I had, was going out to the garage at your place, at your folks' place, and Jerry was working on music for this movie, and which became Glitter Dome, the Stuart McGolan project.
Yes, yeah.
And around that time, MIDI was just taking off, and your dad had a Sequential Circuits drum machine.
Yeah.
And also he had probably the first DX7 I had ever seen, and he was using that, or whoever he was working with. So what I found was this cassette tape. I just found this last week. That says Glitter Dome trailer demo. And hold on a second.
Wow.
Yeah, Glitter Dome trailer electronic score. It's a cassette.
How did you end up with that? I'm curious. How did you?
Well, and then not only that, but it's also the rest of it is all filled up with some of my own personal music. So it's been my tape since. And on it says June 1985. I don't know if that's when they did that music or it's when I took possession of the tape.
Right.
But I don't know who he was working with, but there's some great stuff on it. And there's these demos, which, sounds very much of the time, like Miami Vice music, Jan Hammer, early sequencer, synths, and drum machine. And around that time, I was doing my senior project. So this is up to 85, my music project to graduate. Each student had to do a personal project. And mine was going to be music. And your dad was very generous, and he lent me the sequential drum tracks for that spring, for me to work on it. And then I borrowed my friend's DX7. All I wanted to do was recreate that sound of these Glitter Dome demos, because they sounded, it was like the coolest music I had ever heard. It was an electronic score. It had a modern sound.
Right.
And it's very much, now you listen to it and it's very retro sounding, which is actually really hip again. A lot of the game streamers on Twitch, they use like vintage 80s sound. There's a whole wave thing called synthwave or vaporwave styles of music, which sounds very much like this Glitter Dome stuff. So like Jerry was an innovator, man. That's what I'm telling you. So hip.
That is funny.
And, during that time, and still, it's like all I want to do is create music that was as cool as that, like just direct, great idea, film scorey, kind of mysterious. But your dad, again, was, producing that and very much an innovator and a studio leader. And I always took so much from his mentorship to me and us as a band.
Wow.
He was just such an amazing guiding force and such a warm personality, Right.
That's wonderful. Yeah. This is the first time I've heard that story, right? And I think you know that because you told me that earlier. You said you were going to surprise me with something. So,
yeah, I mean, I could even play. I've got some of the cues here ready. If you want to hear one or two of them, they're neat.
Give me a few seconds. Let me see what we got there.
Yeah, so let's check this one out because it really floats my boat. Can you hear it?
Yes. Very 80s.
Oh, yeah. Remember, Miami Vice was really hip at the time. So.
Right.
So, I mean, you can imagine it's like the chase scene or something, right?
Exactly. That's great.
I'll just fade it down. Yeah, there's a bunch of little selections which you can choose to feature or not. I can send you these. It's definitely a departure from all the other music that I've ever heard your dad do.
That's a great story, right? I was not aware of that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Another thing I remember is the song "So Young." Did I show you the kind of part of the piano part? Because my dad would sit with me, and I would, just sit with him like for hours with having him show me his piano parts on certain songs, and that was one of them. That was a more complex one, I think, for me anyway. Of course, I wasn't a piano player.
So that's the album "Little Bit of Time," right?
Yes, you kind of picked up on that whole piano part.
Yeah. So what had happened is I think you gave me that and Juicy Talk. Was that already out yet? I got 2 albums from you guys as the Riopelle family. Like, here's some Riopelle music to check out. And I put on So Young, and I was just like, holy, it was just blew my mind because I just thought it was so funky and so epic. I mean, like, what an anthem that song is. And how do you play it? So I would kind of mess around with it. And I think at one rehearsal, perhaps, I had like the first little bit of it. And you were like, oh my God, that's So Young. How do you know that?
Okay.
But then you helped me to flesh it out and showed me the right,
There you go.
I mean, it's so good.
That's it.
It's just so nice.
Yeah.
And then my favorite was, that climb up.
That
beautiful.
that turnaround thing. Yeah.
This is my silly part of it is.
Oh, here we go.
That's how you modulate. You go to E major instead of C on the E.
past. I'll see love in a dream, and I'll never wake up. And I'll change every day, and I'll taste every cup. I'm so young.
Ryeland and I, could I call us the class clowns of the motion? In rehearsal,
Definitely.
we would always joke around, and then people would get frustrated. Stephen, in particular, probably, and we would just
for sure.
we would go off on
but
Motley Crue songs while we're working on something. And anyway,
Keith and Mick were the Glimmer twins. We were like the Dumber twins or something.
yeah. Anyway, that
we would
popped in my
repeat
head.
shit and keep saying that just to the denigration of
repeat the mistakes. Whenever there was a mistake, would be like, oh, let's do that
That's the
over. Let's
best
do
way to
30
own it.
times over. Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, so,
Of course, it helped that we would record every rehearsal
Yeah.
so that we could play back all the crap and then rewind and play it back and rewind and play it. So, just
yeah. So for the Riopelle tributes that took place this year, and wait a minute, 2020. I think the first one was in late 19 or midnight in 2019. That was in
June,
LA.
right?
That was in LA, and then we did February in Scottsdale. But
Yeah, before the whole world melted
we
down. I'm so glad we got to do that.
before the whole world melted. Yeah,
Like literally.
we got right in
all
there.
of us together, hugging and kissing,
Yeah,
and
right.
flying on planes, and we dodged a bullet there. I don't think anybody.
Certainly, we dodged a bullet. Yeah.
Hopefully, I hope everybody's all right that had participated, because I know you and I and close friends were unscathed.
Yeah.
Fairly.
Yes, fairly. Yes. But so what I want to do now is I want to play the song that you performed at the tribute. So we'll just listen to it. I'll play it right now, and then we can talk afterward, and you can tell me why you chose that song, because that you picked that song to do. And so I want to play Jerry's version first, and then we'll talk a little bit after. Okay. So here we go. It's Crying Out Loud.
Ain't no sweet surrender about setting me free. Oh, crying out loud. Oh, honey, for crying out loud. Used to keep you warm, used to make you proud. That's the pain that you share and all that I can. How much I love you and I don't want you to cry. That's the pain that you feel and I can't conceal. How much I need you and don't want you living a lie. Shut the light, oh baby. trust. Shame on me, I got that shame on me. Ain't no sweet surrender about to set me free. Crying out loud, oh honey, crying out loud. Used to keep you warm, used to make you proud. That's the pain that we share and all that I care. How much I love you and I don't want you to cry. That's the pain that we feel and I can't conceive. How much I love you and I don't want you to cry. Oh, oh,
Yeah,
There we
man.
have it.
That's a jam.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so smooth.
it is. It's a really great one. I love that song.
But your dad was just really nailing that smoothness and that feel. I mean, the feel of the band, and all throughout his career, just such a defining groove.
It's a really
Which-
great sounding record. Keith Olsen had a lot to do with the sound of that
Mhm.
record. That one and the one before, which was Saving Grace. But and
Yeah, man, that guy touched a lot of people's careers. Jeez,
Keith did, yeah.
yes, really, a huge string of success.
So you wanted to do this song for the tribute, and you did a great job. Everyone loved your performance, by the way.
Thank you. I was not familiar with it when it was offered as one of the selections.
Right.
And by the time I came to it, and you had said to everybody, hey, there's a few more left if anybody wants to take another song, because you had already signed most of them.
Right.
And I was on drums for a few things.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I heard the three and that were left. I can't remember the other two, and this one really called to me. And I was like, oh my God, there's some high notes in there. And I don't know if I'm not known as a singer,
Right.
somewhat of a piano player. I'm mostly a drummer, but I can try my hand at these things. And it really just, I wanted to rise to the challenge for Jerry, for you, for the whole family, and
You
I
certainly
sat with
did.
it for about a week. Thank you. And I was like, oh my God, can we transpose it down?
Yeah, I remember you called me about the
I'd only
one
been
little
working with it
part
for
you
a
thought
week.
the high note you maybe, and I was like,
Yeah. Oh, that I can. Now I can hit it.
Yeah, it's great. You
But
gave
it's
yourself a little push. Yeah.
yeah, and just working with it stretched my voice out. And like anything, you spend time with it, and just I would listen to it over and over and over every time I was in the car, and just I want to just mimic the feel
Right.
of his performance, of the studio performance, because there was not a live one. I mean, there's that little teeny clip from the Celebrity, that black and white video, which were the fans were going crazy, and he's playing it, and for New Year's, whatever was that, 70 something?
That was 75. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. So, I mean, that little 30-second clip was the only other recording that I knew of him doing it,
Right. Well, it was great. You did a great job, and it was fun.
Thanks. It was so much fun.
And Tara Austin sang the vocals, the harmonies with you.
She
at the
did.
show. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
we
and
were
then-
almost going to have the actual singer on that record,
Tamara, right?
Tamara
Or
Hall,
Dulcie.
and she was going to come down, but there was
I
some
know. I was looking
problems
forward to
happened.
that.
But maybe
Yeah.
next time we're going to do it again.
That's right.
Hopefully,
Let's
when we
do
get
it
all this
again.
stuff going on. And
Yeah, because I was also psyched to be a part of the, just the house orchestra in a way, because,
yeah,
Goodstein was covering every last tune, and then I took some of the heat off on some of the tunes, and I was really happy
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
contribute on
you
keys
really
and drums.
rose to the occasion. I mean, drums, keyboard, and singing. That was really great. Right?
Man, I can't hang out backstage. I got to stay busy. If you got the opportunity to play, it was such a great, feeling up there, and to be able to help back up Lori and Dave. And I know Lori's been with your dad not as long as Dave, but it was just such an honor to be part of the group.
It was a wonderful night. Definitely, it was. It really,
Yeah,
I
man,
was
one for the ages.
I was a really stressed out leading up to it, but it paid
It's a
off. It
huge
was so great.
undertaking, man.
It was so great. Very happy with it.
Everybody just really put on their A game,
Yeah.
and the vibe was incredible. The warmth coming back from the audience was amazing. I really felt comfortable, so much so that not many people, we've talked about this, but after I did the tune in at the Talking Stick, and then I was still on the keyboards for oh my God, what was the next tune? I can't remember it now.
Shoulder to the Wheel.
But see, this
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I was so relaxed after doing my big performance that I kind of relaxed too much and then flubbed a few notes.
Isn't it weird how that happens? You feel so great and like, and then you're just lost. You're lost in the moment for a second. You were lost in that.
In the reverie.
Yeah, the reverie. Yeah, absolutely.
But I quickly snapped back to attention after a few glares from both Daves, actually. Like, I'm still working here. I can't relax too much.
It happens.
Anyway.
And the overall spirit and soul of the thing was beautiful. So that's all that mattered to me, really. So.
Yeah, what a great gathering and an incredible pool of characers.
And they were all naked.
So much talent.
No, wait, that was someone else.
Their souls were naked.
Different pool. Their souls were naked.
Well, I was going to say that before all this, and when your dad was with us, we were sharing the stage for the band tribute, which was lovely.
Oh, right.
And it was like a kind of full circle thing. I'd seen your pop, not as much as I would have liked through the later years after, the Motion, started to have families and do adult more things, know. And for the band tribute that David and Wild Honey helped organize, my dad was performing and so was your dad. And so even though we were doing separate songs, it was really neat to have the whole musical family there.
And there's a couple really cool pictures from that. The moment when there was a moment where your dad, Keith, my dad are talking in like the hallway, and it's just we're just all smiling. It was really a great mid-story. I don't know what we were talking about. But
I'm gesticulating.
Yeah.
So definitely. The New Year's show. That was what I was thinking of too. That was really funny. That's probably what we were talking about then, was the time that we played at the Celebrity, and the Motion opened up for your dad for one of the epic New Year's shows. And then as things got looser into the night and the Jerry band was doing its thing, and then he wanted me up on the drums for All Lang Syne, which was really great. Yeah. And so I came up on drums. And then after that was kind of over, I was happy and enjoying. And your dad just launched into Let's Get Loaded, I believe.
And you were there on the drums.
As he's wont to do. And I had never played it before. And I just went for it, Yeah. And he didn't even notice, thankfully, until the end where there was that crazy outro. So your dad turns around and looks, and he expects to see Tom Philman up on drums, but instead it's me, and he gives this kind of shocked laugh and look at the end of the thing, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I've just completely melted down the whole show. But it still was, everybody at that point was so loose.
Right. Oh, it was great.
It really didn't matter. Yeah. And then I was just laughing, and then Tom tapped me on the shoulder and said, do you know the next one too? Like, basically, get off. It's time for me to get back up on the stage. So I just thought that was an amazing moment that, I kind of blew the ending, but I made it through most of the show, or most of that song, and got to perform behind your dad. So that was really a special thing.
Yeah, cool. By the way, Rye, we're going to do this again. You know what I want to do is do an episode with me, you, David Jenkins, and Steven here, and just kind of.
That's trouble.
It is trouble, which is what I welcome. So
no, that would be fun. I would love to do that. And once the world gets back to some sense of normalcy, I'm sure we'll be making music together again, which I absolutely very much look forward to.
Yeah, the Motion's definitely going to do something again, and then. I do want to do these tributes once a year. That was my original plan, and I really want to get back to making that happen. And obviously, I hope you'll be part of it again, because that was...
Thank you. I would love to.
Ryeland, anything that you're up to that you want to talk about? Anything you got to plug?
Yeah. From time to time, I'm streaming on Twitch.
Okay.
And that's twitch.com/Ryeland, but the L in the Ryeland is a 1. So I'll spell it out. Twitch.com/RYE1AND.
Okay.
And I have a DJ set up here in my house and multiple camera angles. And it's not only turntables, it's CD, it's off the computer streaming sounds, adding in different sound designy things, and just having some fun like I kind of used to when I was doing more of my dance and electronic music part of my career. Okay. And so I'm doing that sort of infrequently, but you can look for me there on Twitch. I do something Sunday nights infrequently. and more to come of that.
Cool.
Also, I'm scoring a documentary right now for a good friend of mine who has shot this beautiful documentary. It's a crime drama about a wrongfully committed man in Rockland County, New York. A very interesting story. So I get to do some scoring, which is awesome, and another part of my musical adventure in life. So yeah, those are two things.
Great.
Otherwise, waiting for the world to get its senses together.
Come back together, yeah.
Yeah, man, and get some love in the world. And more music always is welcome.
Yeah.
But like I say, I've been doing a lot of archiving, discovering a lot of gems from my dad as well that I thought were previously lost.
Yeah, we got to get together and show tapes. Well, Rye, thank you for visiting. I think that's it.
Right on, man. Thanks for having me.
Come back again. Thanks for visiting the room. Yes.
I love this room.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I want to hang out more often.
Good,
yeah.
Good.
Does it smell of herbal incense?
Well, you tell me.
Yeah, man.
Thank you again for joining me in the Riopelle room. And I will talk to you next time. And check out Ryeland's Twitch account.
You can also find me at Instagram.com/RYE, the number 1, AND. You'll find me out there. Just Google my name, Ryeland Allison, and you'll find me out there.
All right, Rye. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye, folks.